You know how long I've been waiting for this?
Oh my God!
Who do you think you are? Oh shit. We go again.
お前はもう死んでいる。
何？
やめてください。
I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Guys, I don't know if you heard about what happened last weekend. I'm not talking about the Super Bowl, no. I'm not talking about the NBA fights either. I'm talking about Le Classique. Le Classique. For those who don't know what Le Classique is, it's, you know, in Spain they have El Clasico. Every time Barcelona beat up Real Madrid. Well, in France, every time PSG beat up Marseille, we call it Le Classique. And last weekend, it was pretty rough. 5-0. You know, Roberto De Zerbi, Marseille coach, decided to quit after that. He saw the players and he was like, yeah, I'm good. And even the sporting director, Mehdi Benassia, wanted to quit. He tried to quit, but the president said, listen, if we're going down, you're going down with us. So he had to stay. But yeah, after what happened in the Champions League, they had 95% chance of getting through and they still found a way to get eliminated. That was too much. But to be honest with you, I don't even think it was their fault. Because, you know, like a month ago, we had Le Trophée des Champions, which is like the French Super Cup. And Marseille played pretty well. Actually, they were winning until like the last 5-10 minutes. But this time, we saw a different PSG. We saw the PSG from last year. We saw what I like to call the best team ever. And today I'm just gonna talk a little bit more about that team. We're gonna break down that team and why I think this team is better than all the great team we saw in football modern history. Because I'm not gonna go like prior to 2010. I mean, I'm just gonna talk about Barcelona before 2010. So other than that, you know, I mean, yes, there were some great teams, but do I think they would be able to compete in today's football? I don't know. Let's focus on who are the best team right now, which are City 22-23 with Haaland, De Bruyne, you know, the first season of Haaland when they were really dominant in Premier League and when they won the Champions League as well. Then Barcelona, well, Barcelona, we can take two different Barcelona. We can take Barcelona with Pep Guardiola, 2008 to 2011, you know, pretty much more or less the same team. I mean, they lost Henry, Eto'o, some of the players. Let's focus on 2008 then. And then we have the second Barcelona with Luis Enrique, Neymar, Messi, Suarez, Rakitic, Iniesta, that Barcelona in 14-15. And finally, let's talk about also Real Madrid from Zidane, the Real Madrid that won 3 Champions League. Well, they also had a little bit of change in the squad, so we're just gonna talk about the one with Ronaldo, because then it wouldn't be fair to talk about Real Madrid as the best team ever without Ronaldo, to be honest with you. Like, that would be a little bit insulting. So yeah, let's talk about this team, but first let's break down what makes PSG the best team ever in my opinion. First, to start with the team as a whole, I think PSG's biggest strength was the fact that they were moving as one. They were really moving as a unit offensively and defensively, passing the ball when they had to and making sure that every chance of scoring were pretty high. So they were really like playing a selfless football, and there's not that many teams in history that played like the way PSG played last season, like really collectively. I can only think about Barcelona with Guardiola, that was also playing as a unit, even though it was a different style of play. It was more like a tiki-taka. But PSG also was playing a vertical football, so they were very effective in the way they were playing. So it was not a very possession-oriented football, even though because they were in most cases the best team, they often had the possession. But their strategy was not really to keep the ball. It was to transition offensively really, really fast, and that made them really effective. And on top of that, they had players that were fitting that strategy perfectly. I'm thinking about Barcola, for example, or Nuno Mendes, Hakimi, also Dembele and Desiré Doué. Those players have the speed to transition fast, and they can also eliminate players pretty easily with their speed or with their athleticism. As a team, they were really strong because they were not trying to do too much, they were not selfish, they were really playing for each other, and they really had that purpose of winning as a team. And on top of that, they had some really, really good players. I mean, 9 out of 11 of them got nominated for the Ballon d'Or, which is pretty unique in football history. This is a team that is very underrated. A lot of the players are not famous, at least they were not famous until last season. Thinking, for example, of Pacho, who came from Frankfurt. Nobody really knew who he was when he arrived to PSG. And last season, he really showed that he's a very, very reliable centre-back, very, very strong. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, sometimes he can create own goals because he blocks a lot of shots, but overall he's pretty reliable. And then you have Marquinhos on his side, who's also the soul of this team. He's gonna go down as a legend of PSG. He's the captain now. He's the type of players you need in every team as a leader, a little bit like a Carles Puyol from Barcelona. And then you have, in my opinion, what is the best fullback duo in football history, with Hakimi on the right side and Nuno Mendes on the left side. Well, Nuno Mendes, this guy can lock down any great winger. We saw it with Lamine Yamal during the final of the Nation Cup.
Give me that.
Very athletic, very fast, strong, and offensively he's also great at finishing. He can cross well, he can dribble a lot of players. A great left back. And on the right side, Hakimi, who's maybe not as good defensively, but great offensively, maybe even better than Nuno Mendes, because, well, he doesn't dribble as well, but he reads the game better. He can really position himself in area where you don't expect him and score goals from there. He scored a lot of goals last season. He was in the discussion for the Ballon d'Or, even though he finished behind Vitinha. But he's still a player that, is not always easy to deal with when he's really putting the energy. And at the keeper role, you have Donnarumma. Well, Donnarumma is a keeper that is not really always valued as he should, in my opinion, because, well, he's not really a modern keeper. He's not great with his feet. He doesn't always, play very well when he's being pressured. He's also not great on set pieces, where sometimes he can make a little bit of mistakes. But on his line, I mean, we saw it last season. He did some crazy stop against Arsenal. And then against Liverpool, he saved 2 penalties during the penalty kick session. So, yeah, he had a great season last year. And I think, he just needs to be a little bit more consistent. And then on the midfield, you also have maybe the best midfield in football today, with Vitinha, João Neves and Fabian Ruiz. Well, Vitinha is definitely the best midfielder right now. He can also read the game well, He's the type of player who's a coach on the field. He's great at passing, he knows where to position himself, he knows what type of run to make in order to disrupt the team and beat the defense and beat the pressing as well. João Neves, who's very young, only 21, and listen, this guy can do everything as well: defend well, press well, shoot, score goals, pass the ball, very active on the field, run a lot, pretty much everywhere on the field. And only 21, a lot of potential to still grow. Then Fabian Ruiz is maybe the least consistent out of the three, the least reliable as well. But still, we saw him during the Euro Cup with Spain, where he was one of the best players when Spain won that Euro Cup. So a player that can still have an impact in some games. It's just that he just has a little bit more bad days than the other two. And offensively, well, we have the Ballon d'Or, Ousmane Dembele. Ousmane Dembele is a very unpredictable player. He can score from anywhere, he can score from both feet. Before, he used to be a little bit less good at finishing. He was missing a lot of his shot because, well, he shoots really hard. And sometimes he just goes through the roof. But last season, he was very accurate with his shot. If he keep playing the way he was, he can still be very lethal. On top of that, he's very fast as well. So someone very hard to stop and hard to read. And then you have Kvaratskhelia on the left side. Kvaratskhelia is a very complete winger. Just also very inconsistent. You know, sometimes he can defend. We saw it during the Champions League final, but sometimes it's just not gonna put as much effort. So he's a player that, you know, can be very good when he decides to, but also on some other occasion not really put as much effort. Then we have on the right side Désiré Doué. Désiré Doué is a little bit similar. Also a player that is inconsistent, can sometimes be a little bit selfish, very talented, very technical, can dribble very well, doesn't lose the ball, can protect his ball also very well. But sometimes he can just, you know, be selfish and play for himself, not really pass when he has to. So a player that can, you know, sometimes be a liability, but when he set his mind to play for the team, he's great in that system. So yeah, pretty good team, pretty good lineup, and the bench also has a lot of very talented with a lot of potential youngster. I'm thinking of Barcola. Barcola is a player that, you know, people like to hate on because, well, he can get frustrating sometimes because of his finishing. He can miss stuff that we would expect him to score. But I think he's a very smart player. He's not that very fancy winger that will dribble like Désiré Doué, but he reads the game well. He can, you know, position himself, make the right call. He's very fast, so he just needs to be himself. And is already a problem to deal with. Then you have Seny Mayulu, Ibrahim Bay, also two youngsters that showed up last season and this year that can, you know, fill in when needed. I mean, Seny Mayulu, we saw it against Barcelona this year where he scored a goal. He can play different positions at the midfield as a striker. A lot of versatile player on the bench. Also, Lee Kang-in, a solid player, always going to do the job. Not someone you will expect to make a difference, but someone that can fill in pretty well. Then last season they had Beraldo at the defensive position. Also someone that is not the most reliable, but someone that filled in decently. Last season was not perfect, but you know, when Marquinhos was injured, he was alright. Let's say he was alright. And then you had Safonov as a backup last season for the keeper position. Well, this year he became the starter. Even though they brought Chevalier, he still managed to get the position over Chevalier. I don't really know if he got tested in the game. I mean, he showed us that he could be maybe as good as Donnarumma, if not better, on the penalty kick. But I don't think he got tested enough as a keeper in the game, at least not against the best team in Europe. So let's see. But still, last season, I think that team was pretty complete for the system they were playing, for the style of football they were playing. I think that's what made them great, and that's also what made them, in my opinion, the best team ever. I think if we put that team against those other teams that I mentioned earlier, they would win most of the time. To start first with Barcelona, 08-09, well, I think that would be out of all those teams, that would be the easiest matchup for PSG. Because of the way Barcelona was playing in 08-09 and the way PSG was playing last season. I think PSG, well, they haven't played against a lot of teams that had the possession. The one I can think of is Arsenal during the second leg, where, you know, they were really playing with the ball, they were controlling the game, and PSG scored the first goal pretty early in the game. They can defend well, they can stay back. They don't always do it because they don't have to always do it. Most of the games they will have the possession. But when they play without the possession, I think it favors them even more because they have players like Dembele, they have players like Barcola, they have players like Desiree Doué who can go very, very fast and who can eliminate a lot of players. And Dani Alves defensively is not great. I mean, Eric Abidal on the other side, yes, he's good, but I don't know if that would make a huge difference. Dani Alves, yeah, defensively not great. Carles Puyol is a great captain, great player, but is it the best defense center back ever? I don't think so. Victor Valdez is also like very good keeper, but you know, not someone scary like Casillas, Courtois, Buffon. You know, like there's a lot of keepers that are much better than Victor Valdez. So I think PSG against that Barcelona team that is, of course, obviously one of the best team ever, I think they would do fairly well, to be honest. Same for the 14-15 Barcelona team with Neymar. Well, first we need to make sure Neymar is not injured if they were to play. Yeah, of course, assuming everyone is healthy. I think, again, defensively, that Barcelona team is not the best. Now, yeah, that time they had Ter Stegen and Claudio Bravo as a keeper, which is, in my opinion, better than Victor Valdez. But defensively, they had Piqué, which is also not crazy. Midfield, they had Iniesta, old Iniesta, Busquets, and Rakitic. That's very good. That's very, very good. But is it much better than PSG midfield? I don't know. A lot of those teams have names that are now established because the players, we've seen them play. A lot of them are retired now. So, you know, we have a bigger sample. But I think Joao Neves, if he continue on this trend, same for Vitinha, if he continue on this trend, I think they will retire as top players. And I don't think they will have a lot to envy Rakitic or Sergio Busquets or, well, for Vitinha, I don't think he will have a lot to envy to Iniesta. So yeah, I don't know if the midfield, Barcelona midfield at that time was better than PSG midfield now. And offensively now, yeah, the Barcelona team was crazy. They were crazy, and I think that's where they could make a difference. But PSG defense is very good. PSG defense is very good. We saw Nuno Mendes lock down a lot of very good offensive players. And I think Nuno Mendes is the type of player that when he gets motivated, he can do a lot. He can do a lot, and I don't think he would be. I'm never gonna be confident saying anyone can knock down Messi. If I had to bet on someone, you know, doing a good job, it would be Nuno Mendes for sure. It would be him for sure because he's so athletic, he's so fast, he's also defending well. He's a clean player. He's a very, very good player. I would also bet on that PSG team against Barcelona 14-15. Where it's getting tricky is Real Madrid and Manchester City. So let's start with City. City offensively that season was very good. They were extremely good. It was Alan's first season with City. And there was a lot of doubt about whether it would fit in Guardiola's system, but then we saw Guardiola evolve his system. So it was still possession oriented, but a little bit more vertical with a lot of transition. And the combo De Bruyne plus Haaland was very little. So it was also De Bruyne's best season with City. So yeah, I think that team would be difficult to deal with for PSG. That's a very tricky matchup. City was cruising in the Premier League. They were also cruising in the Champions League. So they felt very unstoppable. But where I feel like PSG have an advantage is also, well, as we discussed earlier with Barcelona, City had control of the ball. So they were still, even if it was a little bit more vertical, they were still controlling the game and, you know, keeping the ball, having the possession, which could favor PSG. Then defensively, City was not the best. They let go Joao Cancelo. I mean, he went on loan to Bayern Munich. And I think that defensively, City was not that good. Ruben Diaz was their best player. Then they had Laporte, but Laporte, yes, he's not great. They had Nathan Ake, Rico Lewis, Akanji, not very good players. Then as a keeper, they had Ederson, who's also very offensive oriented. He's not like a keeper that is gonna make a lot of crazy save on his line. He's more like the type of keeper that will be good with his feet. So yeah, it's a very offensive oriented team, which had kind of some flaws defensively. They were just not really, threatened by any of the team at that time. But I think with PSG and the offense they had last year, they could be a big threat for that City team. So even though I think that's a tricky matchup, I would still give an advantage like 55-45 for PSG. And then we have Real Madrid. Real Madrid for me is maybe the most difficult matchup because they are very, very good at winning. Where Zidane was good is not in the tactic of Madrid, because it's also not, the most beautiful football. But they had a lot of great players, and Zidane found a way to make them all play together. The good thing with great players is that in important games, they can make the difference. And the more of them you have, the more chance you have to make a difference, even though you're not controlling the game. It doesn't take much for Ronaldo to score a goal. It doesn't take much for Benzema or Gareth Bale to score a goal. It doesn't take much also for Marcelo to do something to make a difference. And same for Modric or Kroos. It doesn't take them many balls to find the perfect pass. So I think that's where Real Madrid might have an advantage on PSG. And for me, that would be the most difficult matchup for PSG, because Madrid was strong at every position of the field. And even Keylor Navas as a keeper, very underrated keeper, that was not treated at his value in my opinion throughout his career. And I think that team would be the biggest issue for PSG. I would say it would be a 50-50 game. I would love to see that game. I don't know who would win that game, because it was a strong team. But well, at the end of the day, I think it's really about this season for PSG. For me, what would really prove that we might have the best team ever is whether they are able to win the Champions League again, because now it will be tougher than before. I think they are not going to play some easy team. When we look at the bracket, they might have Chelsea or Barcelona next round. So it will be an interesting test for PSG. And I don't think they will have an easy pass to the final. So let's see if they are able to do it again. And if they are, and if they play the same football and at the same time they win the French League, that will settle debate as the best team ever. But if they are not able to repeat it, then I might put Real Madrid above them, at least, when it comes to whether that PSG team would be able to beat the Real Madrid team. But let me know what you think in the comment. Who do you think is the best team ever out of all these teams?